Okay,
Whose district is it in?
I'm not even certain. Where are you going? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the last Public Safety Committee meeting of this county board session. We are in order this morning with 3 members in attendance and 2 attending remotely, Lois Krieger Gundrum and Jim Berg attending via Zoom. We'll begin with a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, and this meeting has been noticed appropriately through the clerk's office. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the review of the minutes from our January 21st meeting. Did anyone notice any items that needed attention, correction, clarification, anything of that nature? Seeing none, the minutes will stand as posted. Moving on to agenda item 3A, Medical Examiner's Annual Report. For that, we welcome Debbie Stadola. Thank you for being here this morning. As we're looking at the report, I had a couple questions. Did you want to address them as you go through your survey, or do you want to wait until the end and take questions?
I was just going to point out a couple of things, so I can
Perfect.
I can briefly do that, and then I can take questions for sure. So I at the front of the report, you'll see I do like to highlight kind of some of the community things that the medical examiner's office is involved in. I think it's always good to highlight some of the positives before you get into kind of statistics. So we had another great year. Community-wise, had some speaking events with some of our community partners and did some volunteering as a team. So that was really exciting. Case-wise, we did see about a 5% increase over 2024. We had a total of 1,069 cases, which doesn't seem like a ton when you're a staff of 3 full-time people. Essentially, it is kind of a lot. So it was a busy year for us, and we did unfortunately see a pretty stark increase in our suicides. Overall count being up to 34 compared to 27 in 2024 and 24 in 2023. So I'm looking forward to our fatality review team taking off here in the next couple of months to start diving into those cases to see if there's any gaps in our community services that can be addressed. Also, as an office, we are compiling a support packet of sorts for families that are suffering suicide loss. I've had really great help from ACS, the CRU team at the sheriff's office, and our community partners through the coalitions that we run in putting together local grief groups, local counselors, opportunities in the community that are specific for people that are dealing with suicide loss. And so we're kind of in the final editing stages of those packets, hoping to start handing those out very soon once we get those printed up. So I'm excited about doing something kind of within our office that hopefully will be helpful. And then again, that fatality review team taking off, I think will be really great to take a look at those and see if there's any trends or anything that we can address as a community. And then 2 cases still pending. As of today, there will only be 1 case still pending from 2025. So that's really great to see that we're closing our cases out and getting families answers as quick as we can. So that was really all that I had, but I'm definitely open to questions or anything that you guys saw as you looked through it.
Thank you for your report. And on that last item, that's a tremendous improvement from where we were a year or 2 ago as far as closed cases. So thank you for getting on that and helping out our constituents.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else from the committee members? Supervisor Newman.
I had a question. One thing I didn't know that you did was the medication donations. So I think that's great. I see that they go to Oconomowoc. Is there any opportunity in Washington County?
In Washington County, yeah. So there was a clinic in Washington County that would take them, and then they changed ownership. The clinic right up here on 33 changed ownership sometime last year. And they changed policies that they'll no longer take medication donations. So Randy, one of my staff members, made a lot of calls to clinics in the area, and we just couldn't find anybody locally. The Freighter system will take them, but they're also a little bit more particular about what they'll accept. And so we did land on this clinic, which, yeah, I would love it to be in our community, but at least it is going to folks that are in need somewhere. So.
Yeah, I think it's great. I assume you vetted that out, locally is.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone else before I jump in? So, it's an honor that you were elected to be vice president of the Wisconsin Coroners and Medical Examiners Association. Obviously, your abilities and capabilities are recognized, so that's awesome. On page 13, there was the section on falls.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a number there. I'm assuming it's like 59 just based on the graph and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I was wondering about, when we're talking about falls, that slips, trips, and falls are the #1 OSHA cited cause of injuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the deaths in Washington County as a result of falls, are those like someone fell and then a week later they pass, or is it how long does it have to be before it's to still be attributed to a fall?
Yeah. So most of ours are the elderly population of Washington County falling and injuring themselves. There isn't a hard time frame per se. I tend to consider anything 6 months or less based close to the death. And then we really just look at the complications that arise from those falls. So most frequently we'll see elderly folks that fall and break a hip, they're bedbound, then they might develop ulcers or infections from those ulcers from being bedbound, or they might be more susceptible to pneumonias or infections just from not being able to get around like they used to. And then most frequently they'll just have kind of an exacerbation of their other natural disease processes due to trying to recover from an injury. So I typically, if it's over 6 months, I tend to be a little bit more likely to not list it as being contributory unless there's very, very long-term effects like quadriplegia or things like that are a little bit more serious. But it is usually more of an acute event, and it leads to a pretty quick downhill turn for their health.
Doesn't look like anyone else has any other questions, so thank you so much for your report. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, guys.
Moving on to the next item, Washington County Sheriff's Office automating rotational tow vendors for no preference tows. This has been a hot topic among some people. This is an informational item only, recognizing that the sheriff has the absolute responsibility and authority to determine how calls will be assigned. And there has been a recent change, and so Sheriff is just here to update us on how he's decided to do that. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure, as you're aware, we are now mostly a consolidated dispatch throughout Washington County, with the exception of West Bend. So what that translates to is that we dispatch emergency medical services and public safety for 77% of all county residents, not including the traversing public that is going through Washington County. That accounts to about a little shy of 100,000 phone calls per year that they answer, and over 4.2 million radio transmissions that's monitored on an annual basis. And that number is actually from 2023. So I'm sure it's actually quite a bit more than that. So with this consolidation process, we're looking at
I may be mistaken. The tow vendor, you may be jumping to the next agenda.
Nope. I'm laying the foundation of why we're
very
doing
good.
this.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. So with this consolidation process, we were exploring different ways to increase efficiency, which is how this tow vendor gets wrapped into it. And we were exploring everything from AI for call handling to rearranging talk radios, and to new technology, which brings us to the tow rotation. And the chairman of public safety had asked me kind of to inform the Public Safety Commission about the new procedure that we were implementing in the dispatch center. And what I wanted to do is go over the reasons for the transition, why the particular timeline was chosen, why the funding mechanism was chosen, and why this particular product was chosen. So historically, when we had a no preference tow request from a citizen that was in the ditch and just needed a tow truck. Historically, what happened is dispatch had a list of tow companies that they would try to rotate amongst the shift, and the problem is the inefficiencies that caused is it would take multiple phone calls on occasions. It would take multiple radio transmissions because a tow company, maybe one wasn't available, one was maybe 45 minutes out, and so it would take quite a bit of time. So what we decided to do was to, as our call volume increased, was to look at ways that we could increase that efficiency. So we chose a product called TowPro. It's a company that's based out of Utah. It's a husband and wife that actually own a tow truck company that developed this platform for automating the tow truck rotation procedure. And they have clients in Wisconsin. They have about 2,000 tow truck companies that are currently clients of theirs. And there's really three reasons for this transition. Number one, as I mentioned, that improved transparency. It cuts down on phone calls, radio traffic, and lets dispatchers concentrate on public safety dispatching rather than administrative tasks. The second part of it, the chairman kind of mentioned, is it's a hot topic with tow truck companies, and this really provides for transparency and fairness. It's completely automated. The system picks the tow truck companies in a rotation. The tow truck companies know where they are in the queue, and it really cuts down on any perceived unfairness within the system. And sheriffs for the past 4 decades have been accused of all sorts of things regarding this, and so this really just takes it off the plate, and a third-party vendor is actually doing that picking for us. It really helps with data collection and accountability. It tracks all sorts of times, how often the tow truck companies answer the call, how often they don't, the response times. It ensures a compliance with our tow agreements, that all the tow truck companies know what the ground rules are, know what all the ground rules are, and it's just much more fair. The research that was done on this was that we knew that Walworth County Sheriff's Office, our neighbor down to the south, has been using this product not real long, since I think it was either November or December of last year. We actually sent our communications lieutenant down to Walworth County to actually see the product live in action. I spoke with the sheriff and the undersheriff or captain of operations. Both said the product is exceptional. It took a little bit to implement, but they are very, very happy with it, and that's really why we decided to proceed with it. The impact on the towing vendors in our county, every towing vendor that we've been utilizing was notified by myself. We sent out a letter to them, a welcoming letter indicating that we were moving towards this product. We sent out our new tow truck rotation policy, and they had the opportunity to do onboarding with it. That letter was sent out in mid-February. I think it went out the 16th or 17th maybe of February. And we intend to go live with it on April 1st. Why that timeline was chosen and why it was a 6-week window, but there are several reasons why that was chosen. Number one, we consulted with TowPro to see if that was doable on their part. It certainly was. They actually are on site right now. The husband and wife flew out from Utah, and Monday they trained our dispatchers on the process, and yesterday and today, or yesterday for sure, all the tow truck vendors were invited in to personally meet with them and go through the process. Or I forgot what I was going to say here. But the end thing is that there's an inclusion period in September. So 5 months from now, the other tow truck companies, if they're interested in, can be included in the system. So I thought the tow truck companies that were a little reluctant to take part in the system, they've got 5 months now to evaluate it and see if they want to be a part of it. So that's why we kind of picked the April 1st as one of the go live dates. So that's kind of the Reader's Digest version of it. It just really modernizes our rotation process and takes dispatch out of it. The only other thing I want to say is the funding mechanism to it. There are counties or municipalities, there's an annual registration fee for each of the tow truck companies. Some of the municipalities chose to pay that registration fee. I believe it's $357. And then there's a $15 per tow charge as well. I didn't think that the taxpayers of Washington County should have to bear that fee. So I chose to have that fee passed on to the tow truck companies for a couple of reasons. If the county would have paid for it, every tow truck company would have just decided, yeah, let's do it because it doesn't cost us anything. This way, there's a little buy-in to it from the tow truck companies to begin with. And like I said, I just did not think that taxpayers should be funding that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? Chairman Schleif.
I met with the sheriff and discussed this about a month ago. And I commend him for coming up with this innovative solution to a problem that's been longstanding. Like he said, it provides transparency, fairness, and I think it's a good idea. So thank you.
Thank you. It really is it's a win-win for everyone.
Yep. Thank you for your presentation. I agree. It's innovative thought. We appreciate it. And as far as the buy-in, in my industry, we're spending a lot more than $357 a year to prepare bids in the construction industry. It's not that much of a price to pay to be involved. So, in my opinion, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Then moving on to the next item, 3C, the Washington County Sheriff's Office Radio Committee Report.
I'm going to have our new captain, Captain Tim Kemps, do the presentation on that. Captain Kemps has been with the Sheriff's Office. Next year will actually be 24 years. He made his way up through operations as both a deputy, went to a patrol supervisor, patrol lieutenant, and his most recent position was he was lieutenant of detectives. He ran both the major crimes division and our drug task force, and now he's transitioned to the captain of administration, where that was Captain Rob Stacer's old position. He transitioned to captain of operations. So we did a little bit of shuffling. So Captain Kemps.
Good morning, Captain Kemps. Welcome and congratulations on your recent promotion.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So yeah, it's been a busy 3 weeks getting to learn the radio system, not something that was on my radar before. So if I have any questions I can't answer, Captain Stacer's here, he'll help me out. And a few things have changed since I submitted the committee report last week to you guys, but just broad overview. Countywide paging is completely cut over onto the new system. We actually had a weather-related problem this week that came up in the storm. One of the microwaves got moved in the wind. So Hartford was down for a little less than 24 hours, but they were able to get up on the towers yesterday and get that problem rectified. So they're operating back at full capacity on that. They continue to reprogramming is the issue. They're kind of moving north to south. The new system, when it's complete, will have 8 channels. Currently 3 are up and running. They're going to be bringing on a 4th because of capacity issues as they get down to Germantown to bring on some of the bigger users. One of the issues that came up back in October was DPW. I know we've been in correspondence about that with a radio issue after only a few vehicles had been turned over. Our people here actually had identified the problem early on, what they believed it was. It took Harris a little bit longer to confirm that it's what our people knew, but it was a microphone issue. So the problem was identified recently. A production issue has come up on the microphones. They had 143 of them total, and those actually did get shipped this week. I don't know if they're physically in our possession, but I did get a copy of the shipping receipt, so I know they're on the way. So they'll be able to get going with 143. What our ask is that 50 more be sent, or Raycom's ask 50 more be sent every 2 weeks to allow them to continue on with that. So we'll see, but that's an ongoing issue. I have a meeting at 9 o'clock to get an update on that. The other thing that developed this week is we've been battling to get old equipment off the two former lease towers. We got approval a couple weeks ago, but there's an osprey nest in Farmington that required us to get that down by March 15th. A couple weather related things, but I was informed they did get that equipment down in time to meet that deadline. So we're completely off that tower. And the Aaron Tower, I believe, I haven't gotten final word, but they were supposed to be climbing up there, I believe, yesterday to get that down. As we move forward towards the end of the project, the testing, they want a good corn crop is a good base for that. So we're probably looking realistically at July to get that final testing. So hopeful that project completion sometime late summer, I think is what I'm told is a realistic goal. Fiscally, so this budget originally in 2022, $17.3 million was set aside. As we sit today, we have 2.5 million remaining. Where those are allocated for, I should go back to out of that original 17.3, 870,000 was moved out of the radio system and moved into jail capital improvement projects. Costs that we have remaining today is we're holding back a check for 1.3 million for final payment to Raycom. Edge Consulting, 38,500. Our private management consultant, 48,000. And then we're asking 650,000 to be held back for contingency. We've already identified some coverage issues in the building here that we're probably going to need to look at building repeaters to bring those in to boost up our coverage there. And we anticipate some more of those issues coming up. So, but feel that the 650 in contingency would be plenty to address any upcoming issues. The Raycom has also agreed to take on, starting in April, that $15,000 a month that we're paying for the consultant because of the delays in the project. So surplus that we're comfortable with now, the number I had given you last week in the committee report was $454,686. That has changed slightly. I'd also made reference to potential for interest earned this year. I was informed last week by finance, there will not be any interest earned in 2026. And I was also given a penalty number for arbitrage. The interest penalties is $30,000, a little over. However, there was also $45,000 coming back in from the sale of one of the radio buildings and generators. So the actual surplus number we're looking at right now is $469,625 that we believe will be left over, plus whatever remains from the contingency, the 650 at the end of the project. So that's all I have for the report. Any specific questions?
Thank you for your report. Are there any questions from the committee?
All right, thank you.
Hang on. Hang on. At what point do we expect to know how much or how little of that $650,000 contingency, or is we going to wait 6 months, a year, 18 months? At what point should we have a handle on that?
My belief is by the completion of the project
Okay.
this summer that we would know how much of that will be surplus.
Got it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 3D on the agenda, Wisconsin Senate Bill 546, Assembly Bill 514, Justice for All. And for that, we have our Chief of Public Safety, Mr. Dave Sager.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the committee. I had to put this on the agenda because I was so pleased that the Assembly had passed their version of this Justice for All bill. This is a piece of legislation that has been worked on for a number of months, dating back to the beginning of the legislative session. I would like to shout out to our very own Representative Gundrum and Representative Knodel for introducing this piece of legislation. I had to get it on the agenda so Kayla could push this out and keep it on there. Prior to the scheduling of the Senate portion of this companion bill, the scheduling came out on Monday and unfortunately was not put on the schedule for the Senate to consider. So if you read the legislation, it identified that the DA's office would have received 2.6 additional ADAs along with our public defender's office and staff positions for that office as well. It's disappointing. This is something that is definitely necessary. We will not stop pursuing this objective. And it may seem a little odd that they're providing us with 2.6 assistant district attorneys. As we all know, FTEs come in 1.0s. But as you will recall, the last several years, the county board, along with the executive and finance, have been gracious enough to afford us the 0.6 position. That would be the companion to the 0.4 ARPA funded position that was in the DA's office. So the DA can't have just a 0.4 person. So you have graciously afforded that position the remaining 0.6. So that's why you see the 2.6 positions. This is very important to public safety in Washington County and the state, quite frankly. The sheriff's office does tremendous work, and everything just is a workflow, starting from the communications center through the sheriff's office to the DA's office to our judges. And quite frankly, it's necessary. So hopefully, we'll continue to pursue it. Never say never in this legislative session, but they're supposed to come back in April for a special session. We'll still continue to work that objective. Maybe they'll take it up. All it needs is to be scheduled and heard by the Senate. So that's the report. I was hoping to have more positive information for you from this. It's a great piece of legislation. It just didn't make it on the scheduling system.
Thank you for the update. Any questions from the committee? If not, we'll move on to the next item, item 3E, Emergency Management International Institute of Wisconsin report. Good morning, Mr. Lofi. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. So a few weeks ago, I was contacted by the International Institute of Wisconsin. They facilitate professional exchanges supported by the U.S. Department of State. They had reached out because they have a group of emergency managers, fire service folks coming from the country of Georgia to the United States for a few weeks to meet with different groups, FEMA, EMS services throughout the United States. And they had asked if I would be interested in a professional development session with them to learn more about our response to the flood, intergovernmental coordination, lessons learned, and some emergency management practices. So I'll be hosting them later this month, along with one of our municipal emergency managers that was very much impacted during the floods. And I think it'll be a nice opportunity to have that professional development session with them. So the members of that delegate are listed in the packet. Does the committee have any questions on that?
Any questions from the committee? If not, it speaks to your professionalism, and it's indeed an honor that you were selected to host these individuals visiting from the Republic of Georgia, as I understand it. Also, I'm sure it won't just be a learning opportunity for them. It'll be a great chance for you to pick up things as well. So great opportunity. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a really neat opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. Item 3F, Dispatch Center Staffing Update. Mr. Dahl.
Good morning.
Administration. Thank you for being.
Good morning and thank you. I'd also like to invite Lieutenant Blair or Captain Kemps, I'm not sure, from the dispatch area, just to kind of participate in this conversation. So as the work of the county board winds down, we're looking to keep you informed about some, the current situation in dispatch, some of the things we're working on, just in case there are some asks coming in the future, just to kind of keep you up to date on some things here. So we did share an article. I believe the county executive actually shared it several weeks ago with the group, but we shared it again through the packet. Hopefully you had a chance to read it. It really articulates a lot of the challenges around staffing dispatch centers nationwide and statewide. And I haven't been in the heat of it, of course. These folks have, but we wanted to kind of give you an update for that. So of course, we're no different than some of the folks listed in the article. To some extent, I think we're even in a little bit of a tougher spot, because you compound the shortage with the fact that we're staffing up for Hartford and Germantown, those operations coming on board. So, a lot of departments are just struggling to tread water, and we're actually, looking to gain ground, fighting against the current. So we've made some progress, but still need to kind of keep things moving pretty quickly to get things staffed up. So that article provides a pretty good framework for a conversation just about what we've done, what we continue to look at. And so operationally, of course, Captain Kemps can hopefully speak to some of the things that are being done. I'd just like to get started with just pay overall and some of the things we've maybe done there. So kind of going back to 2020, when we implemented our comp plan, we got all the pay ranges up to the 75th percentile of the market, right? So basically we beat 7 to 8 of the 9 counties that we compare ourselves against. And after that, we applied regular cost of living COLA adjustments to that pay range. Near the end of 2023, we're still staffing up from Hartford, and in some of those early discussions with Germantown about taking them on as well, and kind of knew we needed to make a splash to start recruiting for some of these new positions. So at that time, with the implementation of the 24 budget, we made a significant increase to the pay range again. That was a big one. That was about 20%, right? So $5 or $6, depending where in the range. So that was a boost. I believe we became a pace setter in the state in terms of compensation. And as far as counties go, from what I can find out there, our starting pay, we're still ahead. Our starting pay is ahead of anyone I could find. When you start getting through the range, Waukesha County beats us by about 75 cents at the top. But generally it's us and Waukesha leading the way. I didn't look at some of the municipal PSEPs, but that's sort of a snapshot of the data. I think we believe that the pay is competitive. I think in hindsight, one thing that maybe is biting us is we placed staff in a way that kind of restricts our ability to slot laterals in. These folks are sort of bunched up in the pay range. They were bunched up at the beginning of the pay range when we implemented it. And so there's not a lot of room to slot new folks in. Likewise, it doesn't use the full pay range. So for example, like a 30+ year employee, one would think they'd be well through the range and into tier 3, and we're not seeing that because of the way we place them. So we're working on a plan to provide some relief there, allow more opportunity for laterals and slotting folks in as they come from other agencies. So you'll learn more about that plan very soon. We met yesterday on it, actually. So you'll hear more about that. Of course, there are other things at play other than compensation. So, I'd like to turn it over to Captain Kemps if you wanted to talk about any of that or any of the compensation things as well.
So, yep, thank you for your report. I'm sure if we have any more questions, we'll tap you for those. But
Right.
Sounds like a complex issue, and you're working through it with all parties, which is good. And Captain Kemp, care to continue?
Yeah, just to kind of expound upon, if you read the article, just a couple of things that we're doing as well. Some involving money, others not. Last year, they brought in the guidance counselors to our office, showed them our operations, kind of had a question and answer. With the goal really of those counselors are the ones out in the schools. They're the ones know the kids that might be going into these fields. Thought maybe we'd have a little more success there than a typical job fair where there's a whole bunch of different options, handing out stuff. We're looking to get a second session of that going here before school lets out this year. And that really goes for all of our operations, but communications and the jail are two unique spots that we can tap the students right out of high school. So looking to continue on with that. Lieutenant Blair set up a couple years ago a program with MPTC for dispatching school. Started to see some positive calls in on that program, asking for people to come sit in. So hopefully we can tap some talent from there in the future. I think recently we had 2 hires that in dispatch that aspired to be law enforcement or be officers, deputies, but hadn't completed the necessary schooling. So they're doing great work for us in the communication center. One actually was just hired full-time deputy by us. Starting in July, he goes to the academy. The other one is continuing on his credits. And I think it opened up an opportunity. We discussed it yesterday. The county has tuition reimbursement. So I think one area that we can really try to attract people that maybe long-term want to be officers, but need some financial assistance on getting to school. I think there's an opportunity there that we bring them in, either work in the jail or communications. They can get real life experience with us. And while they're working on that, they can use the benefit that's already there for tuition reimbursement. So that'll be something we explore in the future as well. Supporting current dispatchers, obviously retention is key to this, right? So there's a morale team that was developed that they come up with not just for communications week, but all weeks, different activities for the team to keep morale high. Our peer support team involves communications officers as well. So they're part of that. Several of our specialty teams, our SWAT team, there's tactical dispatcher spots. They're eligible to apply for our hostage negotiation team, dive team. So they have opportunities outside the normal day-to-day workflow, such as that, which is attractive. That's not real common at a lot of agencies. So something a little bit unique there. That article talks about hiring candidates based on personality, not just traits. That's something that we're evaluating. In fact, we've got some new candidates coming in right now. This will be the first time with a new testing process. So don't have any data on that, but hopefully that's kind of what we're trying to shoot for too, is hiring for personality rather than trait. There was some issues a couple of years ago. They did a survey and tried to work on a few of those things. We talked about the starting wage, just to expand on that. We've lost a couple of laterals. Our bottom end and our top end is where we need to be. The issue we're running into is they come here and maybe they're a 5th-year dispatcher from the city of Milwaukee. To get them a slight increase from where they are now, we'd be paying them more than our 10-year, or more employees. And that you risk ruining culture within the communication center with someone with half the experience comes in making more than, one of our dedicated communications officers. So that's really the challenge that we're facing. And there's been several laterals that we've lost because of where we couldn't put them in. Other things we've looked at, creating part-time dispatch positions. It's such a difficult job. And there's a technical component. We haven't had a lot of luck with. It's something you really need to be immersed in to be able to handle the competency end of it. So just not a real desirable solution. We have brought back retired dispatchers to do some of the admin work, next generation 911 data input, address verifications. We are utilizing that frees up time for the communications officers to focus on what they need to be doing. And that's the public safety things. The specialized therapy contractor kind of goes back to wellness, but they have options of doing yearly wellness check-ins with a psychologist, just to make sure everything is good there. It is obviously a high stress job and often overlooked as far as the trauma that they're experiencing firsthand on such a regular basis. It was touched on earlier, but the AI stuff we're looking at, there is stuff funded for quality assurance in dispatch. That's something that I'll be working on going forward. Again, hopefully also freeing up some time for the dispatchers. Actual positions, we're 6 short right now, 2 supervisor positions. So we have not been staffed to the supervisory level that is budgeted. It is a Lieutenant Blair's position, and 2 sergeants. We had another sergeant for a short time, but then needed that person back out on the front lines. That's priority 1 right now. Lieutenant Blair's doing the job of three people. I say we're all replaceable. I'm not sure if she is. So our focus right now is getting her support. We opened up a process for the sergeant position last week. It's currently open. We feel we're at a staffing level where we can promote one soon, like April, and with the goal of getting that second one filled by the end of the year. And going forward, then obviously we'd have the corrections or the 4 communications positions open to fill. We're getting good candidates, or I should say we're getting a number of applicants. It's just finding good candidates, right? We don't want to lower the standard. We want the people that are coming in to be good people. And we have a training capacity of only being able to train so many at once too. So those are really the challenges we're facing. But we are looking at all options.
Thank you for the update. Thank you for all the avenues you're exploring, and that is a very important thing. And I think to the general public, probably often overlooked. So thank you for following up on those details for us. Any questions from the committee? Supervisor Newman.
I realize now it might not be normal, but do you have 3 shifts during the day, or is it 2?
Yep, 3 shifts. And I'm actually glad you asked that. That's an item I missed. So 3 shifts, kind of your standard. They work 8.5 hours, kind of matches our patrol hours. Right now, because of our limited staffing, all 3 shifts are operating a full position below where our minimum should be. So when fully staffed, they'll each have another entire spot working. Alternative schedules is something that we really want to look at. You're seeing a lot of that out in the market. More weekends off, right? Everyone wants more off time. So whether that's a 10-hour schedule or a 12-hour schedule, that's something that we really want to explore to be more attractive. But unfortunately, we really need to be up at a more appropriate staffing level before we can look at those options. But for sure, we're going to be looking at that in the future.
I think it takes a very unique person and skilled and a special person to be a dispatcher, and also working in a jail. Those 2 positions got to be difficult to fill. I'll say that wearing another hat, I receive calls from your dispatch 24 hours a day, and I've never received an inappropriate call. They've always been super pleasant, so I commend your staff for that. Great to work with. So
I appreciate it. I'll pass that along.
thank you.
Just a quick question with regard to Moraine Park's training system. How long is that program for dispatchers? Okay.
Yeah, they included it into their criminal justice program as an optional elective, so it's like a semester as a certificate.
Got it. And then the training, is the dispatch equipment and software so common that it's pretty much common between all the departments, or okay, so it's more of an exposure to dispatching as opposed to actual training on any version of equipment. Got it.
Sorry. This isn't my normal forte, but so when I worked with the instructors to help develop the program, there's a northern portion of the state that had kind of a program in place. So we spoke a lot with them, and then we recommended some like common ground items that you can work with in teaching in a classroom, such as, we're customer service oriented, right? So customer service skills, active listening skills, crisis management, negotiation, that kind of thing are all skills that translate regardless of what PSAP you work in. So that's really where the focus is, because as individual PSAPs, public safety answering points, we're very unique in the equipment that we have. We're lucky countywide, the majority of us, before we consolidated with Hartford and Germantown, we all use relatively the same software. It's proprietary, like we each owned it prior to this, minus the radio system that was countywide, but we were all using the same stuff, so that made it a lot easier. You don't see that across the state though. Waukesha uses a different system for their computer aided data entry and their phones and things like that. So it's not, something that you can just pick up and teach.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that additional information.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else from the committee? With that, we come to the end of the agenda and also the end of this session. I want to personally thank everyone in the room for your dedication, your professionalism, for your, it's been a pleasure to work with each of you. And law enforcement, public safety, everything, every way in which I've become associated with the people in this room has made me proud of who Washington County is, who helps and provides services to Washington County, and really the dedication that you all have demonstrated. Thank you very much. It is, I just wanted to express my appreciation as we go forward. We're not certain who will be sitting on this committee. So I wanted to take that opportunity, but also then take the opportunity to thank the committee members, Supervisor Toma, Supervisor Newman, Supervisor Berg, are expected all to return to the county board. Supervisor Krieger Gundrum, thank you for your service to this committee and to the county board as a whole. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. And with that, we are adjourned, and the next meeting date will be set after the organizational meeting of the county board. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.